Economics in early modern philosophy from our good friends, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. This was first published in January 10th, 2002. And there was a substantive revision in March 1st, 2026. This is Economics in Early Modern Philosophy. Economic discourse of the early modern period offers probing accounts of inequality and distributive justice, in addition to detailed analysis of specific core phenomena: property, money, commerce, trade, public finance, population growth, and economic development. Many of the leading early modern philosophers, from Nicholas Copernicus, Nicholas Copernicus to Adam Smith, made significant contributions to economics. The list includes Jean Bodin, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, George Berkeley, Montesquieu, I'm pretty sure Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, David Hume, these French fucks, okay. Etienne Bonnot de Candolle and Jeremy Bentham. Other philosophers of renown address the principles of property and commercial obligations, notably Hugo Grotius, Samuel Pufendorf, Thomas Paine, Immanuel Kant, Condorcet, and Sophie de Grouchy. If economics is construed more broadly as reflections on the moral dimensions of material betterment, then the list enlarges to include, okay, we're just gonna list a bunch of fucking philosophers. Okay. For example, Bernard Mandeville, Francis Hutchinson, Voltaire, Thomas Reid, and Antonio Genovese. If one expands the ambit of economics to include the complex interplay between reason and the passions as directed at the pursuit of happiness, then countless men and women of letters in the early modern period contributed to this discourse. There were at least a dozen schools of economic thought in the early modern period. Impressively, by the close of the 18th century, political economy, as the discourse had come to be known, had identified many of the core principles and laws pertaining to money, markets, and trade that are still upheld today. Moreover, albeit in isolated context, many of the methods of economics, model building, time series analysis, statistical estimation, game theory, and decision theory, have been set forth. In some, the science of commerce, as economics was mostly known in the early modern period, was a mature inquiry and, as held true of the natural sciences at the time, drew substantially on its philosophical roots. All right. Section 1, Schools of Economic Thought. Oh, I need some water. Hold on. Okay. Adam Smith remains non-parallel. Is that what that word's supposed to be? Parallel? Is this a word? Non-parallel means have no equal or peerless. Okay, that's a fun word. Wait, I want to read. Okay. remains non-pareil, not only because of the breadth and depth of his work, but also because he provided one of the most penetrating analyses of human behavior to explain our economic condition. An inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations is without question the single most significant tome, both for the early modern period and for the entire history of economics. Sorry, these are some pretty dope words. Fuck you, I'm reading at my own pace, bitch. Both for the early modern period and for the entire history of it. Smith's text analyzed the core features of money and markets, as well as the progress of opulence. Wait, I should know what opulence means, but I'm still going to look it up. It's great wealth. Wow. Okay. As the progress of opulence sweeping across the globe and reaching back to ancient times, see Rothschild and Sen 2006, he covered the entire field of economics, from price theory to public finance. Significantly, this may prove his greatest contribution, his first and only other book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, developed the moral psychology that served as the foundation for his economics, and arguably for economics to be the present insofar as it still commits to the self-interest axiom. Smith's first book motivated the sympathetic regard that binds us to one another, even to strangers, and it establishes a restless desire for approbation and hence for wealth as the driving force for human betterment. Finally, his essays on the history of science serve to elevate the epistemic standing of economics. By the first half of the 19th century, the science of political economy was widely esteemed. If Hobbes offered a political solution to conflict and penury, bro, what are these words they're throwing at? Penury. Smith grasped a century later that economic forces, the accumulation of wealth and the ever expanding global trade, overrode the power of the most ambitious of sovereigns. Recognition of the immense powers of markets, both local and international, commenced in the 17th century, as a number of prominent 20th century economists came to recognize. John Maynard Keynes paid tribute to the English mercantilist, as well as John Locke and William Petty. Friedrich Hayek honored the insights of Bernard Mandeville and Richard Cantillon. Paul Samuelson admired Francois Quincy, and Milton Friedman praised John Law. All four, Keynes, Hayek, Samuelson, and Friedman, admired and wrote about David Hume's economics and paid tribute to Smith's genius. Smith owed a sizable debt to his immediate predecessors, above all to his close friend Hume, with whom he exchanged ideas for over 25 years. There is a grain of truth to Joseph Schumpeter's harsh judgment that the wealth of nations does not contain a single analytic idea, principle, or method that was entirely new in 1776. This, however, is testament to the theoretical maturity of economics by the second half of the 18th century. The most robust verities of economics, even to this day, are to be found in the pre-Smithian literature. The core elements of the theory of prices had been broached. Its grounding in use value and in exchange value, the appeal to the cost of labor and the imperative of cost recovery, as well as the laws of supply and demand in various forms, including the concept of the price elasticity of demand. Pre-Smithian economists are renowned for contributions to monetary theory, stipulating the form and function of money, the principles of bimetallism. Bimetallism? It's bimetallism. Is a monetary system which currencies valued at fixed rates against fixed quantities of two metals. Oh, bimetal. Bro, I said bimetallism, bro. Bimetallism. Economists are renowned for the reasons the mind is stimulating the form. The principles of bimetallism, debasement and devaluation, the quantity theory of money, the specie flow mechanism, and the multiplier. Gresham's law, devised circa 1560, was extended from domestic currencies to foreign exchange markets. Financial markets had become increasingly sophisticated, with a wide array of equities and banknotes in circulation. The state issued public debt in the form of bonds and equiquire notes, and amassed significant funds through lotteries and annuities. In the stock markets of Hamburg, Amsterdam, and London, one could find short selling, wind handle, bond equity swaps, and futures. These novel forms of money and credit demanded theoretical resolution, and many leading philosophers, such as Montesquieu, extolled the virtues of the bill of exchange. Extolled. Exchange in 1747, Émile du Châtelet is reputed to have devised and profited from contracting a percentage of future tax revenues, a novel instrument akin to a modern derivative. Hume observed that one could liquidate shares in the East India Company but 15 minutes, and posited three methods to eliminate the ever burgeoning public debt. Economists before Smith, such as Cantillon, Hume, James Stewart, and Anne Robert Jacques Turgot, discerned some of the key arguments for the gains from trade. They also addressed the dynamics of economic growth that stemmed from the division of labor, population growth, economies of scale, and above all, capital accumulation. Because of the growth of markets and factor mobility, 18th century economists recognized to the regional manifestation of a uniform wage and profit rate, and thus posited general principles not only about the inverse relationship between profits and wages, but also about the tendency of the profit rate to decline over time. Above all, they did what is essential to most, if not all, philosophical thought, namely, to drive a wedge between appearance and reality, distinguishing prices from underlying values and the nominal or money wage from the real wage, its purchasing power. Hume and Smith, above all, firmly entrenched the central distinction of the nominal and the real in economic discourse. Holy shit, this is long. Yeah, I'm not reading all that. We're doing a short stream. Love you guys.